John Jimenez from JJ Multimedia Productions. Thanks for being here on Britecast today. Let's start off with telling us a little bit about the business, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, like JJ Productions, a little bit about us, how we started, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, JJ Productions, honestly, it started with the mentality of based on your passion leads you to your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's how everything has started. Long time ago, I started like doing stuff at church, doing stuff being in front of the camera, doing announcements for church and everything like that. I never had grab a camera before. Honestly, like it was just.
How long ago?
We're talking about like probably like 10 years.
Okay.
Like 10 years, 9 years ago. I just we're doing announcements. I always been, involved with radio or either anything that has to be with communication, social media. By the time I was also like playing the drums, I was like,
nice.
in the worship team and everything. But, like I started doing announcements, and then later on, when I got married, I started going to my wife's church, and there, like, they didn't have like a lot of social media content. So, I started doing stuff with my phone, just instead of being in front of the camera, now I had to kind of make the videos and everything like that. So, I started filming. I started doing like videos and just announcements and here and there. And from there, like later on, like a couple of years after, we kind of started doing stuff on social media with young adults. And then I started something that was called Mission One More.
Okay.
So it was on social media. It was with youth. It was just like, kind of like showing a positive message on social media and everything like that. Just creating, by the time it wasn't like a lot of reels, it was just like regular videos. So it was just like making videos, making funny videos.
Yeah.
So like, we started doing that. And one day, I was talking to my wife and I was telling her, well, like, we're leading all these young adults to like follow their passion and kind of finding themselves through their favorite things to do. We have musicians, we have people that were artists, break dancers,
cool,
graffiti artists, and everything like that. And we were doing stuff for the community, donating pizzas or doing stuff as a group and everything. And one day, I was working, and I kind of went through a process of leaving the job that I was for like approximately like 5 years. So from there, it was just like I was on a stage of saying like, well, I was kind of like, I was unemployed. I didn't know like what to do, and I was applying, I was sending applications.
What was that previous job?
I was working at Quest Diagnostics as in the warehouse.
Okay.
Actually.
Yeah.
But I was also a med tech. But like it was just doing like warehouse job and everything.
Right. Pays the bills, but not a passion.
Yeah. So like I was just doing it because it was a job. I got married and I was working at a warehouse, and then I remember an advice that like I was starting doing kind of videos by the time. It was like kind of all overlapping. Like, I was doing stuff for the church, and I was a warehouse worker,
Right.
and I was doing this. But then, something was pushing me to do something different. And then I remember one time that one of my coworkers, Mr. D.
Mr. D. Shout out, Mr. D.
Shout out, Mr. D. So, he sat down and he did like a kind of production too, but like a lot of sound. He was a DJ
cool.
on the side and everything. And he was like, hey man, do you see yourself here in like 5 to 10 years? And like, look around. Like, do you see yourself? It's not because this is a bad job.
Right.
But, like, how do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? you are so talented, you have so much potential. I still remember this advice until this day.
That's awesome.
And you can do so much more. You can push on your talent and everything that you're doing. I see your videos, I see your content, and I by the time we didn't have a name, we didn't have anything.
Yeah.
It was just me making videos with my phone and editing in iMovie.
Oh, on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Phone. Nothing.
That's
I didn't have
crazy.
a computer. I didn't have anything. So when I was unemployed, and it's so funny because I was watching the video before I came here.
Yeah.
I remember that I was like, well, I gotta do something. So I already have a camera. I already have at least my phone, and I can find a cheap computer, and let's do something. So I remember with whatever I had at the moment, I print out some flyers, black and white. And I put my number in the bottom. I cut it in little pieces. So I put in like supermarkets. I put in like different.
That's old school.
Yeah, like that. I just started like that, and that's how everything started. Like I just started putting flyers around. And I remember with whatever I had left at the moment, I print out some black and white business cards at Vista Print. And shout out Vista Print.
Yeah.
We don't get a sponsor, but I print them out, and I just went to I used to park in shopping centers, and I used to go like business by business.
Hustling.
I used to go business by business, just telling people like, look, I will do stuff for free or whatever you want to give me. And just like that. And little by little, we started making our portfolio. Little by little, now like, people started saying, hey, you should make this as a business.
Right.
So, like that conversation that I had with my wife at the moment was, what do you think, your passion is? And again, like we were motivating so many young adults to follow their passion, but I wasn't following mine.
Right.
So that's kind of like how everything started, just like, identify my passion for cameras, for the final product.
Yeah.
And then I just went from it.
Yeah, I love that piece of it too. I mean, I could see myself going down that rabbit hole as well. I like making websites also. I like making stuff. You know what I mean? And that's like so much fun. There was like the barrier to entry, like right when you started, was perfect because your phones are around, and now it's like so much easier doing your phone. So going around to all those different places, who was your first paying client?
So my first paying client, I was doing. So I started like kind of testing fields, like I didn't know my niche. I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know anything about business, man. Like, to be honest.
Well, when you're a regular employee, no one tells you anything about
I didn't know what was identify your client. What was, nothing, man. Like I was just doing videos. So like I started doing like, I remember like my first client himself. So I had two. One, if we're talking about like events, I had like one wedding.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was like our experience, man. Like it was like super far away. It was in the middle of nowhere. And it was a lot of hours. It was like 8 hours or something like that. I remember I just had one camera, and then I put my cell phone in another tripod. Yeah. I had like a $10 stabilizer, like those that you just put your phone in it.
Yeah.
And that's how I did my wedding. Like that wedding, I remember. And then I still talk to that client until now, like a monthly client.
Oh, nice.
And I think they mark a before and after on everything that I was doing, because I would say like thanks to them, like a lot, I am where I am. Right. Because they gave me the opportunity without me knowing. And like nobody knew me, nobody knew what I was doing, but they just saw that like the church videos that I was making, and they gave me an opportunity. Yeah. They were a real estate agent. Right. Yeah, a realtor. And they kind of hired me to do like something like some content monthly. So that's when I started identifying like
Yeah.
the difference of doing monthly, the
First
one
time,
project.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the recurring revenue is definitely nice to have.
Yeah,
Making sure you have money coming in, especially when you're starting from nothing. You're trying to build something. It's nice to know. I mean, it's good for a wedding if you're going to get a couple grand or something on the first time, but you don't know when the next one's coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So I mean, like at the time, like you gotta remember, I was just starting. I didn't know how to quote, like how to even send a quote.
Right.
Like I just starting like kind of researching on Google, like how much would a wedding be or something like that.
Right.
I didn't know a lot of stuff. So
there wasn't
like,
ChatGPT at the time to tell you everything.
So like at least ChatGPT, like it wasn't at the moment. It was just Google. You know? So I went to Google and kind of get an idea of pricing, but then like I didn't know how to quote myself, like how much I deserve,
Right.
like or like to pay myself to pay people that went with me, nothing,
Right.
I still remember to this day my first wedding was $500.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's nice to have $500. I mean, it probably took you forever to edit everything, and
It did.
Working for like $5 an hour, but in order to have that on your portfolio, like it's worth it. Like I kind of did the same thing. Like my prices are way different now.
Yeah.
I didn't have the experience. I mean, I knew I could do it, but I was still kind of like anxious about it a bit, just because someone's actually trusting me with money for the first time.
Exactly.
And like my entrepreneurial journey, I've always done kind of stuff on the side. Like I was a DJ for like 7 or 8 years, and I made some money doing music, not very much. And then I like wedding DJ a little bit, but this More Brite was like my first real thing where there's nothing else.
Yeah.
So I had to learn a lot, for sure. But I wanted to make sure I got that client because one, I needed the money.
Yeah.
And then two, I needed the portfolio.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
So where are your main clients? Like, what is it? Weddings? Is it corporate? Like, how would you divvy it up? Like, how much work you do in different places?
So, I mean, as of right now, we have 2 different sides of what JJ Productions is. So we have the event side, and we have kind of the corporate side, and kind of like monthly clients or content himself.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like we have on the event side, we have everything that has to be corporate event, and we're talking about like photography and videography for weddings, quinceañeras, birthdays, now like corporate events, so. And then on the other side, we try to any clients that need our service like every month. If you need to create content every month, if you need to build up like kind of like a strategy mentorship on how to create content and advising and organizing like ideas for content, because one thing is to go put your camera and wait for the client to record, the other thing is to actually plan and give the client ideas of what to record.
Well, and that's not going to be good anyway, because they're probably not going to do a great job, so and it makes your content look bad.
So I mean, again, like we try to guide our clients and kind of also like teach them what is trending, what is actually giving results or everything like that. But I think it's so important to guide them to like what social media is, like how does every platform works, because sometimes like they like I had clients in the past that they wanted to record like a YouTube video, like a 5-minute video, and they wanted to put it on Instagram. It's not gonna work, So again, like it's just guiding them through the process. So like we have monthly content, monthly clients that are like we create content for them. So content creation is kind of where we come in as the big part, and that includes obviously like video content, photography, and then also like some graphic design support, and also like support with like all that has to be with creation of like After Effects and animations and all that stuff. If they need support on that. So those are the complements to maintain a good social media platform.
Yeah. So do you, what do you use, Premiere and After Effects? What do you use for editing?
Yeah, so like we kind of have a diversity. So like it depends on like our equipment. Like I started everything on Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so like I love Apple products, to be honest. When it comes to Final Cut Pro, like I feel like they make everything easy.
It's definitely easy to get started for
Yeah,
sure.
so definitely like like all the elements that you add to it, to the video and everything is
Right.
like right there.
Right. The titles and the plugins and stuff. Yeah.
So like I feel that so I feel like Final Cut Pro and Premiere Pro are like the manual car versus the automatic car,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Premiere Pro is like everything is like manual. Everything is like for like if you do text, you have to go here and animate it and then bring it back to the video and everything like that. So I have experience on Final Cut Pro, but definitely like Premiere Pro is our main source of editing. But also like right now with the color grading and everything that we're seeing and improve on DaVinci. Definitely like I will say DaVinci is a lot of where I guess everybody's testing it out and heading that way because of the color correction and everything that they're doing.
Is it that much better?
I mean, I feel like
or that much easier?
I like compared to Premiere Pro. Again, like everybody has their own opinion.
Yeah.
So like every editor is like you get if you find yourself like that Premiere Pro is easier, then you go for that route. Or if you edit in that same program for so long, in this, so like you're gonna basically feel comfortable on that side. But again, like me testing it out, like DaVinci, I will say more on the color correction. Definitely, like they make it easy. Like you see more diversity on colors and everything like that. There is and now with the editing process, definitely like they're trying to make it more easy and more like easy to understand and easy to process. Again, like I would say I would give a lot of credit to DaVinci when it comes to color correction. Yeah, so like definitely like DaVinci, like is great.
So would you make something in Premiere and then take it, export it?
Yeah, so like I have done projects before where I color correct first everything on DaVinci. I export the whole thing and kind of go from there.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, but definitely like I cannot argue when it comes to color correction on DaVinci.
Yeah, I was using Final Cut for, I don't know, maybe 5 years. And then I got the Adobe Suite just because of the business.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why don't I should start learning Premiere. I'm already paying for it every month, and there's so many different tools, and it's kind of fun to learn a new, thing, especially with like YouTube and stuff. You can pretty much figure out anything within a couple minutes, and if I had the main idea of the tools from Final Cut, so it wasn't that, difficult to make the leap, but I'm still learning. And I've been doing it for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, but I edit all this in Premiere.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the things is that like you never stop learning when it comes to software. Is like they make upgrades every time, and I feel like Premiere sees that I don't know, like Canvas makes an upgrade or like some other program makes an upgrade, and they try to incorporate it right away.
Right.
So when captions came out, like the tags and everything came out, like I feel like Premiere Pro saw that and they made it easy for you to put text and kind of make it more easy, like on everything.
So you might have to send me a video on that.
yeah. I mean, like there is ways to make it like super easy when it comes to captions. But again, like they weren't that accessible before.
Right.
So every time that they make like an upgrade in certain platforms, like now with like Premiere Pro, for example, they have that feature where they edit according to the text. So like they have this option that you actually have the transcript and you edit certain parts and it cuts the piece of the video and they just accommodates. Yeah,
I have to look that up.
Yeah. So again, like that those elements are like being incorporated to Premiere Pro that are like I know it has been a minute since they incorporated that part, but I'm still like Premiere Pro sees that other programs, other softwares are doing something different, so they try to be like, okay, I want that, or I can improve my software now for everybody. So again, like it's just however you feel comfortable. Definitely, like the best advice I always give people is like, go according to, I always say like, whenever they say like, oh, what software can I use, like when I to edit, right? So I'm like, okay, what type of phone do you have?
Oh, yeah.
So then if they tell me iPhone, I will say like, okay, try to start with Final Cut Pro.
And it's way cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, to get the whole suite for Adobe is like, for someone that's just trying to do it for fun or whatever, $60 a month is a lot.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Exactly.
$700 a year.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it still depends, because like that's one of the questions that I get a lot from, when it comes from people that are just starting in their business, people that are just starting in, to edit or to record and everything. Like, what software should I use?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, what type of phone do you have? Well, if I have Apple, I'm like, okay, try to go Apple,
Right.
straight, like, okay, try to get a MacBook, because
Right.
like exporting things is so easy.
Yeah.
Like the system is so easy to understand,
Right.
than PC and everything, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I definitely like Final Cut Pro. Like, well, if you're a beginner, definitely iMovie, is definitely like the way to start. Exactly. It's free, comes with your phone. Start by there, like that's how everything started. You start playing around with text, playing around with a lot of stuff, but that's how you learn the basics. Then you will understand Final Cut Pro, that is really similar to iMovie,
Yeah.
but obviously more advanced.
Right.
Then after that, you can try it out, Premiere,
Right.
and you can start, now when you're advanced to color grade and all that stuff. DaVinci is definitely like, the way to go.
Yeah. So, we're saying like you didn't know anything about business. What do you think has been like the toughest struggle from starting from nowhere?
Well, definitely like, I will say, getting to because again, like, you can be passionate, and I learned, I honestly, I have to give credit this to my to my wife and to my sister-in-law, right? And my mother-in-law too.
Yeah.
Because she's
Can't forget her.
yeah, she has the she does business management. She graduated from that, and also my sister-in-law. But like, I think the biggest struggle is to understand, like, because you're passionate on something and you make it a business, like, doesn't mean the passion is gonna take you far.
Right.
Yes, because it's gonna make you, since you're passionate to what you do, you're gonna do that sacrifice, and you don't feel the time, and you just do the extra mile and everything. But when it comes to understanding business, that's different, because again, like, you have to understand. I think that was the biggest part, is understanding that I also have to learn about what a business is, like business management,
right. How to charge for your time properly, how to manage your time, like charging when you're going on like locations, and making sure you're taking out money for your taxes and all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I like, again, my first year, I didn't know how to even do, like, what type of business to get, what was an LLC, what was all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like declaring how to do the taxes properly.
Right.
Again, like charging clients, how many hours, how, like, how much should you pay people that go with you, like all that stuff, like, should I even charge if I pay parking, for parking or not, like all that stuff. And so that was kind of a struggle with me, because I like, I think a lot with my emotions sometimes, like with my heart, and not with my head, like, with business.
And from the artistic side, you're not really worried about the numbers when you're thinking about the art.
Exactly. So it's like, like a lot of videographers don't understand that, or people that are learning about this business, especially the production business, is like, okay, yeah, editing is one thing, but then animation is another thing.
Yeah.
And graphic design is another thing.
Right.
If video has different elements, like, do you just want me to just edit everything and that's it, or do you want me to do the audio component of it?
Right.
If you want me to do like the logo animation towards the end, all that stuff.
Right.
Animations throughout the video,
Right.
all that stuff. So, it's like, understanding how to charge properly, like also not overcharge a client,
Right.
So the business side of things it was like really difficult to.
Well, I don't know if you experienced this, but like we were talking earlier, I didn't want to overcharge because I wanted the job, right? So I'm at the point now where I'm like raising my prices because I don't have enough time, but that means I kind of have enough leads where I can say I'm only going to take this for this price. When I first started, it was like, I'm probably doing it for 50% of what someone else would do.
Yeah.
So, but you don't know, exactly what to charge, but you just know that you need a job.
Yeah, I mean, like, I always tell people, because I get to talk to a lot of young adults that are like probably starting to create content and everything, and I'm just like, okay, look, obviously at first you have to get your name known. You have to bring your portfolio in and everything like that. So I've seen a lot of people that are starting in the business and they just want to go ahead and overcharge the people like crazy.
Right.
And, they don't understand that there's a starting point,
Right.
that you
have to prove yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to know and show like what you can do. And also like, understand that everything starts somehow. You
Right.
have to start showing your work. A lot of people are not gonna give you opportunities. That's it.
Right.
Like they're gonna close the door in your face. That's just part of the process.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna say like, no, I don't like this. So that's when negotiation comes in, but also like, kind of understanding, okay, like if you really want the client, you also have to study what benefit like of having that client is,
Right.
If they're also like supporting you, if they also like,
they're
are
referring you to other people.
exactly.
Yeah.
They're also gonna help you grow your business, or they just, like using you for one time only and
Right.
that's it,
Right.
So it's just analyzing a lot of points here, like, what benefits you and if it's worth to do the sacrifice, because there's some things that, sometimes that client, again, can connect you to other clients, not just as a referral, but you being at that event
Yeah.
can connect you with a lot of clients. So
Right.
it's like, okay, like that's right.
Well, that's why you want to be confident that you can nail it. That's why you charge less in the beginning, because you're not going to be as good as you are 2 years, 5 years later.
Exactly.
So, people will have some grace on you if you can admit that.
Exactly.
So, so for like, how do you set client expectations, for like, especially for like a wedding video? How do you tell them, one, this is how long it's going to take to do everything, and then what they expect in terms of quality,
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like something that differ us from a lot of people when it comes to like, again, like events, you put the example of weddings, is that a lot of people do everything electronically. Like everything is like, oh, go to my website, there's my packages, and like they put the best 2 videos that they have, and then that's it, they have from the client. Everything is through email, everything is through text. So like with JJ Productions, or what I try to implement is always try to meet with my clients. If my clients are like away, like really far, and we cannot, or they're too busy, at least Zoom,
Yeah.
But like I want them to see my face, to feel that connection.
Yeah.
And then
That's smart.
like to have transparency. And the first thing that I do is send my videos. Like, look, this is every wedding that we have done, or this is my portfolio on weddings when it comes to videos and when it comes to photography.
Yeah.
So they understand that when they hire me, like, that's what they're going to receive.
Right.
That same quality.
Yeah.
So if they like my style, if they like what they see, then they're going to continue. So like, it's not like I'm going to send only 2 videos. No, I try to send a big portfolio, so they understand that we have variety on our content.
Yeah.
So we have that approach on face-to-face meetings. We try to talk on the phone. I always like to kind of understand what their needs are.
Right.
So it's something also like different about us is that we do a lot of customized packaging when it comes to our clients. So yes, we do have pricing determined and kind of like our packages already set, or what services do we provide for weddings, or what we offer for per package. But at the same time, it's like, kind of seeing like what their needs are, because sometimes like couples, they want something special to do, or like we're doing first look, but like my fiance is gonna make a special dance or something like that. So you gotta understand, or like
how many shooters are you gonna need?
Exactly.
How many cameras are you gonna need? Right. Yeah.
One of their questions is like, I get like, I know, like when I talk on the phone, they're like. I know their question, like, why are you asking that? But it helps us to understand how many people do we need. It's like, how many guests are you expecting?
Right.
And
50-person wedding is very different than a 250-person wedding.
There you go.
Yeah.
So again, like, because you want either 2 photographers or 2 videographers or something like that, like, on the spot, because it's different than doing like a 250 people wedding, you know?
Right.
Like, okay, like then it's going to be big. The space is going to be bigger. So we're definitely going to need some area. So that's how, like, I feel talking face to face, also like, asking like what their necessities are, and how can we supply that necessity, because I also do quinceañeras, and something really popular on quinceañeras is we need a slideshow of our pictures,
Yeah.
So like sometimes they do want it, sometimes they don't want it, or sometimes they accept a package that we have sent them. And then at the end, they're like, oh, but do you also offer this? So that's why I always try to talk first and kind of get those details done.
Yeah, so you can price it right. And
exactly.
Yeah.
So I tell them, look, these are our prices. This is the package that is more convenient for you, since it has everything that you're looking for. Then, obviously, like I have a lot of clients that are like, okay, like, look, we cannot do this, but so I kind of start building up something more customized for them.
Mm-hmm. How did you kind of start to figure out, based on how many people are there, I'm going to need this amount of camera work?
And it goes more than people. Is like, what kind of activities are they going to have throughout the wedding?
Yeah.
Like, what's the program look like?
Yeah.
If they need us from the beginning when they're getting ready,
right,
and then we move towards
in the bride and groom's rooms at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, the groom is gonna be here and the bride is gonna be here, and so like if they're gonna get ready in another place, then the where the venue is gonna be at, where the party is gonna be at. So if it's separate, like, I definitely need a team that stays with me, and at least somebody that's getting ready, everything prepared on the venue and everything like that.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just talking on those details, like how many. I would say, like, what's the program looks like, and obviously what are the expectations of the couple, the quinceañera, or even corporate.
Right.
So like, what's the schedule? What's the event? I was just talking to a client. I was getting a client quoted like a couple of weeks ago, and what started first as a recording one person talking at the front for 10 minutes, just recording, and then we need photos. It turned out to be that they needed 3 interviews at first, and then they wanted like each person to be recorded of what they said plus photos. You see?
Yeah.
So that's
you definitely need at least 2 people.
Exactly. Yeah. 2, 3 people that kind of organize everything. We'll definitely do like one person doing the setup for the interview. Then one person started taking photos, so we don't miss anything. So again, it's just about like that first chat that you have with your clients.
Right.
And I always get those clients too that they just want to hear pricing and that's it. They don't want to talk. They don't want to say anything. Okay, that's fine. We send it. And if you have questions, we're here. But I kind of try to get that first approach on understanding what they really need.
Yeah. So a little bit more personal stuff. So how did you end up in Manassas? Yeah.
Sorry, I need water.
You're good.
Manassas. So I was mentioning to you, I always been with church and everything. I grew up in a Christian home.
Yeah.
So my parents were pastors for a long time.
Yeah.
So
is that here?
Yeah. So part of them were here. So
okay.
I grew up. I'm originally from Colombia.
Yeah.
So we were missionaries in Ecuador for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then we moved here to the U.S. and on 2005.
Okay.
So in 2005, we got here to San Diego, California, and basically I always say like
I say San Diego, California.
Yeah,
that's how I say it. That's how a white guy says it.
San Diego, California. So yeah, we got here to San Diego, California, and I always like to say, like, being a pastor's son is like being a military child.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, like, they can get moved at any time, anywhere.
Right. Especially a missionary pastor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's the story of my dad. So, like, we're there in California, and then we got, like, he got a call one time, and then, we need you in Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, we moved to Maryland, and then, like, a few months later, they say, we need you in Manassas.
Okay.
So we moved to Manassas, but we went back to Centerville.
Okay.
Like we kind of, my dad dedicated himself to do something else, and we kind of moved to Centerville, and we stayed in Centerville and everything. And then after that, that's when I moved, and I did all my high school here in Manassas.
Manassas, Osborne Park?
No, I
Osborne
went
City?
to, Unity Reed.
Oh, yeah.
Unity Reed High School before it was at Stonewall.
Yeah.
So that's where I graduated in 2012 and everything. So I basically, I would say I lived in Manassas for almost 17 years. So all my high school, everything I've been doing here. So that's how I ended up here, basically.
Cool. I went to OP
Nice.
back in the day, much earlier than you.
Yeah.
But I grew up around here too. I didn't get to move very much at all. I mean, my family had property like off Signal Hill Road across town, and so they had like 3 houses on it, one for my family, one for my cousins and aunt and uncle, and then my grandparents just in that 20 acres and had a creek and all that stuff. So I didn't get moved at all. My first moving out was going to college.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, speaking of faith, like I have had like on again, off again sort of thing. I feel like I definitely believe in Jesus, Holy Spirit stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about church personally. I don't know that I'm just not sure. So what keeps you at your church now?
Well, definitely, like, I mean, more than what keeps me out of church, I would change it to what keeps me in a relationship with Jesus.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And I always gonna say, like, being grateful.
Okay.
That's one of the main things, because I always tell people, like, if maybe, because I get to advise a lot of young adults, and they say, like, I just don't feel like going to church. I don't feel like probably like this is the right time for me, or I just feel tired or something like that, because those moments come, man. Like, that's how it is.
That's life.
That's life. That's how it is. Like, we get tired, we get exhausted. I can imagine the disciples too. Like, I have a lot of thoughts, but, like, I feel like for the longest time, I feel like there has been that like they have put Jesus super away from us, and they put it like in this pedestal and, like, away from us,
Right.
And they basically don't talk about, like, the human side of Jesus, like, and about the disciples, and every time that I read a story or everything, like, our creative side,
Yeah.
like, I try to imagine them in our times, in our human side,
Right.
like just walking around and preaching and all this stuff. So so again, like, even the disciples probably, like, at some point they got tired, man. Like, they were exhausted, probably, walking around.
Yeah.
Or even, like,
Or betraying Jesus.
Exactly. and preaching, and they don't believe, or getting beat up.
Right.
Or getting rejected, even
Yeah.
from their own families and all that stuff. So I bet sometimes they thought about, like, man, should I follow this guy or not? So those times come, man.
Right.
That's pretty normal in humanity, especially in these days, because we're seeing at times that, definitely, like, it's a lot of like, we're in those times where there's a lot of word out there.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks they know, and like, you don't know what's the truth.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Especially now.
Exactly. You don't know what's the truth. Everything is confusing. What should I believe in, or where should I go, and everything. So that humanity is like burned out, and that's why I said what I said at the beginning. It's like, it's not like, okay, what keeps me in church? Because I can, like, just go to a church right now, and a year later I might be in another church.
Yeah.
But what keeps my relationship with God is grateful. So when I would ever talk to a young adult and everything like that, and I always tell them, like, whenever they feel like that, I'm just like, well, I guess you stop being grateful.
Okay.
And then they're
So
like,
how do you think that the gratitude equals a relationship with God.
I have a feeling that, like when you're grateful, you're there, you're constant. And it's like marriage, right?
Yeah.
Like you're grateful to your person, you're committed to that person. And, I feel like when you're thankful to God for everything that He did for you and everything that He has changed in your life, everything that you have, you make sacrifices for that person. Like, I feel like gratefulness is like that constant first love that we
Yeah,
feel,
okay.
and that's why you hear couples that are married for like 60, 70 years.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff changes from the beginning, but being grateful to each other and that constant respect and love is just there. That never changes.
Yeah.
So, and we hear in the Bible that everything can change except love.
Right.
Right. So that's why I'm saying, like, when we're grateful, we know where everything came from. We know where the source is.
Right.
And that's why when everybody asks me about JJ Productions, I'm always gonna say, this is not me. Bro, like, I can tell you right now, I never went to college. I never went to college for what I know. That's why I got rejected so many times.
Yeah.
People are expecting.
Is that how you got into Quest? Just like straight out of high
I mean,
school?
I got there honestly for a blessing because I knew a friend.
Yeah. Okay.
And they kind of, it was kind of my first official job after high school. And they accepted tax and everything with just high school diploma. And that's how I started getting my experience. But again, like, I'm here, or everything that you guys see in JJ Productions, social media and everything, or where is it now, is not me.
Right.
It's
through the gratitude, and your connection.
It's through the grace and wisdom of God. That's how it is.
Yeah, I think especially like being that scary, did you have your kid yet when you lost that job?
So yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Well, by the time, no, but like, it was the period of my life where pandemic hit, man.
Yeah.
Like, I was already stable. I found out that my wife was pregnant, and I'm sorry if I get emotional on this one, but
it's okay.
But is something that really marked my life.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell you, like it was a period of my life where I would say, like, where I started really running my business, because pandemic hit. I was doing videos and here and there. I already had a name, but I didn't put myself out there like that.
Yeah.
I was just looking to bring some extra income to my house. That's it. Like, whatever it came, I was doing it. Right. But then after pandemic hit, I got a call and say, like, you guys are getting laid off. Like, we don't need you guys anymore in our business. I was already working somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that day, like, I saw my wife being pregnant and everything like that, and I was like, wow, like, what am I gonna do now?
Right.
Like really, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I can start applying, I can do a lot of stuff, but it's not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna go anywhere. So I gotta do my stuff again. Like, I gotta pull the camera and really, really hustle.
Yeah.
And a lot of businesses weren't recording in person.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, a lot of business weren't recording in person, and it was like, now Zoom was hitting the market, and FaceTime calls and Zoom calls and all the stuff. But that's why I'm saying, like, I'm always gonna be grateful with that same client.
Yeah,
she always came back.
Yeah.
The realtor,
right?
I told you,
and she was willing to do an in-person.
She was willing to sacrifice and everything like that to continue with her content. Yeah, and that's what sustained me through that time.
Yeah, that's and someone to be grateful for sure.
Exactly. So, I mean, like, I was struggling and everything like that, and like, I was going through a lot of stuff. And a lot of people, like, don't see the other side of business owning, and it's the stress, the anxiety, the depression. Battling with that stuff is no joke. Yeah, and I was
pressure.
The pressure. Yeah, right. So, so then the constant bill of the license and everything was starting to kind of come in and everything, and it was one time that I got on my knees, man. That was the only thing. That honestly, I still remember the day. I didn't have a job. I wasn't getting I wasn't landing any gigs, any new gigs and everything. And one time I was in the office upstairs, and I was so stressed out at some point. Like I was like anxiety was so high
Yeah.
that I was getting like, I don't know how to say, like, my hair was getting that white stuff. I don't know, like the white stuff that you get on your
Oh,
head.
dandruff. Yeah.
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 It was bad. It was like,
Right.
I
Probably eczema, really,
Yeah.
from stress.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah.
And I was so anxious that day, but I closed myself in the office and I started crying. I just went out loud, man. I started crying, and the only thing that I was like, that's why I tell you, man, like that's why I'm grateful, because I told God, I was like, man, like, as a human I cannot do it anymore.
Right.
At this point I can't, like, I'm gonna be a father, my son is coming, like I want to offer something to my wife.
Yeah.
I want to offer something to my son.
Yeah.
And I just don't have anything.
Yeah.
I really don't. So I know jobs are not hiring right now. Like, again, I don't have that much experience to say I have a solid business that I can depend on,
Right.
or something. Like, what can I do? And you're the only one that can solve this.
Yeah.
So after that, I literally, I finished there and everything. My wife was already sleeping. I went to bed and I was I was just checking my phone before I went to bed. And literally, man, like the first thing that I opened on Facebook was, we need a bilingual agent, and if you want to apply, come here. So like I applied, I get a call the next day, and I got the job the next day.
Really?
Yes.
Doing what?
Doing a loan officer assistant.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was like what got you through to be able to push through to doing JJ? Yeah.
So like, that got me out of it. And I mean, you remember that in 2020, housing was like really like good.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was refinancing. Everybody was trying
Yeah.
to buy a house
Yeah.
because rates were so like, I got at a good moment involved on that. So I've been a person that like if opportunity shows up, and even if a client shows up and say like, hey, I need this type of video, I've never done it before, that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
I would tell them like, okay, I can do it.
Right.
I will go to YouTube University, man.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah, man. Like that's how I learned.
And that's fun too.
Yeah.
Like challenging yourself, like, and not being scared of, sometimes I don't know exactly how to do it, but I know it can be done.
Yeah.
And I know about YouTube University, or I can figure it out, you know? And I like the challenge of trying to do something new, because otherwise I'm just doing the same stuff every day. you
Yeah.
know?
So, I mean, for me, it was just like if a client tell me like, oh, can you record on green screen? I will say, yeah, I've never done it. Right. I was like, oh shoot, like what am I gonna do? Like, but then at that same night, I spent like 4 or 5 hours watching videos on how to do green screen and how to light it up properly. My first kit was like an Amazon kit that was like $80, right? The lights are like that, and I just light it up however I could. It wasn't the best. You could see the frame on the green screen, right? But I started doing like green screen videos and everything, and so that's what I had. And at the moment, when I started, like, when I got my interview on loan officer, I told the loan officer, I was like, look, I don't know how to do any of this, but if you give me the opportunity, I'm 100% sure I'm gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I started learning and everything, and that's why I'm saying, like, connecting to what we were talking before, is like, I feel if you keep gratitude in your heart,
Yeah.
and where the source is coming from, that's gonna push you to little by little. It's like, okay, like have a relationship with that person. It's like when you make a business, like, somebody does something for you, like they do a video free to advertise your podcast, for example. But then, for gratitude, that client, for example, and then you go do something else for them because you're grateful that they help you out.
Yeah.
So, and you build up that relationship and you grow. So that's the same thing with Jesus. It's like when you are grateful with Jesus, where the source is coming from. You know where the wisdom is coming from.
Right.
You know that's the source.
Right.
So you're always gonna be connected. So again, like that's gonna lead you to the right church. That's gonna lead you to have constant communication.
The right relationships and
Exactly.
right people in your life.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I never heard it said that way, so I think that's I'm going to keep chewing on that. I mean, people always say gratitude. I think that's good to have any time, but not in a direct connection with Jesus. I haven't heard it said that way, because that's kind of one of the phrases I've always dealt with.
Yeah.
Because I've never met this person, technically. I mean, I believe in the Holy Spirit, like what you just described, your story, which is, thank you for telling me about that. Like, it takes those dark times in order for like the light to come, you know? Like, I don't know how else to say it, but, you know, just letting it be where it wasn't, I don't have anything else to give. I've done everything that I can, and so you got to do something here. Exactly. So I've had a few of those moments in my life, and I don't, like, in my struggle with faith, it's like I never gonna forget those things. So if I'm not exactly sure what I believe with particular things here and there, that's honestly me being nitpicky. Yeah. You know.
And again, like, you know, I feel like there's I don't know how to proper like say it in English, but there's a Bible verse that said, don't be I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, do it.
I'm actually I'm gonna look it up, because it's like,
you can say it in Spanish. We might have some Spanish listeners. I took 4 years of Spanish in high school. I just completely forgot it for the most part.
Okay, give me just a second. So like that, and in Spanish it says, no seas sabio en tu propia opinión. So in English it's like, do not be wise in your own eyes.
Oh, yeah. Right? Yeah.
So again, like, you know, and that's kind of the problem of, like, sometimes, you know, while we are in the, like, you know, having a business and being a business owner, and also, like, you know, like being a believer, you know, because sometimes you start doing things your own and everything's gonna go like your way, and everything starts being successful and everything like that. So at some point you start giving a lot of credit to yourself. And you know, a lot of, you know, like if people ask me, like I always put God first, and, you know, his wisdom and everything, and that's why I'm here. Right. And second, you know, obviously the effort to actually watch those videos, because God is not gonna come to you and say, like, here's your camera and now you have the knowledge of being a Hollywood videographer. He's not gonna say that.
Yeah, he's not gonna say that.
Nah. He's not gonna provide you with the whole thing, but he gave us the creativity, you know, to do things. Right. That's why Adam, you know, when he was naming all the animals, he gave him the knowledge and he put him there so he can name the animals. Right. So he's always gonna give us the tools for us to create something. Right. You know? So that's why I'm saying, like, you know, so same thing with business. Like he gave us that creativity to have a business, to be creative on everything that we do. But at the end, okay, like, you know, again, like, where is it coming from? Right. You know? And sometimes we start doing, like, you know, having wisdom in our own, like, you know, in our own eyes, and saying, like, oh yeah, but I did this. Oh yeah, like, you know, but I worked hard for this. Yeah, that's true. You work hard for that. But again, like,
and be grateful that you were able to complete what you did, you know?
But you could, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, let's look to the other side. You could be in a hospital right now.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. A doctor can call you and say, like, you know, you have a terminal illness right now. Right. You know, but you're not in that situation. Right. Or you could easily, like, you know, and I'm putting tragic scenarios on this, but at the same time, it's like, you know, just think about everything that you could be going through. Right. But at the same time, it's like, you're not. Right. So again, like, you know, why am I here? And that's why I always tell people, like, you're not here just because. You're here with a purpose. Mm-hmm. You know, you always have a purpose in your life. And God created you with a purpose. And if you are in your field and you're doing what you're doing, like we're here on this podcast with a purpose. Yeah. You know, I don't know how many people need to hear this. I don't know how many people need to hear from your story or all the interviews that you have done, or why he put the willingness in your heart to actually create this podcast. Right. And what impact it's gonna create on people. Yeah, motivation to business owners or people that are in the same industry or however it is. Right. But you're creating an impact and you have a purpose, you know? Right. So again, that's why I'm like, okay, everything that I do, if I land a new client, if I make a new business partner, if I get a new employee, if I actually even get new equipment, I'm always gonna be grateful to God.
So were you like that before, like, when you had that, breakdown moment with, getting on your knees and stuff? Were you not grateful before that?
I was always grateful, but I again, I was, but at the same time,
It's tough when you've gone through all that stuff and your kids come in and your wife needs help and you want to be able to provide and help. It's
and again, it's just different situations in your life, that help you mature and grow.
Yeah.
Definitely like different areas in your life that is gonna help you grow and in different stages. So like the stage in our in our marriage right now with my wife is not the same one than we started. It's like that saying that you say, when you have little kids you have little problems, when you have bigger kids you have bigger problems, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the time is always gonna bring new challenges, right? The same circumstances that are going through in my business right now. Now I'm dealing with big contracts and fulfilling big contracts,
right,
to the businesses that I'm working with. Now we are guiding ourselves with a contract. Now are guiding ourselves to actually, we're dealing with, instead of before saying how much am I gonna charge? Now we're dealing with okay, how many people do we need, and how, to pay them on time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Next set of problems. As soon as you solve one, there's the next one.
There's another one.
Yeah.
But again, I feel as long, when you're grateful, is when you have, your mom and a son, when you're grateful with your mom, even though you're 56, 60 years old, you're always going to come back home and be grateful and do that same routine that you did with mom.
Yeah.
Sit down and talk. You go visit your mom with a gift, or you provide for your mom, whenever you can, and you bless your parents,
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, it's, for me, it's that relationship with God. And sometimes a lot, in this generation, we need to understand that this is not more about religion. This is about relationship.
Right.
So there's a lot of voices out there, a lot of misconceptions, a lot of disappointment.
Yeah.
Because you hear a lot of people saying oh, I went to church and I got hurt.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't believe anymore.
Right.
So because we get concentrated so much on the physical temple, the physical church, then actually, how is my relationship with God?
Right.
How is that communication with God? How is that day to day with God? And that's when you go back to that gratefulness. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that I wasn't grateful before. It's just that I saw it from another perspective. And that's how deep you understand gratitude. When you actually, it's like when they say you should give even when you don't have anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to wait to give when you have a lot. And that's another part of JJ Productions, man. I think we know, and we talk this about it different times. But why do I do what I do? Because I feel like I have a purpose in this earth to make an impact in my clients.
Right.
And not just, and that's the saddest part. A lot of business do business because of money. And because, they just want more and more numbers.
Right.
Yeah, that's how you're going to sustain your business and everything. And that's the financial part. That's the business part that I told you that I struggle with.
But if there's no heart behind the business, then what's the point?
That's sit down and understand your client. Sit down and have a communication with your client. Because again, they might not be your client at the moment, but they can bring you another person, or you can have that relationship and 4 years later, you can start working with them.
Yeah.
And that's why I was telling you, I have clients that I met them through a networking or whatever, and we click, we have that connection, we exchange business cards or numbers or social media or whatever, but we don't start working immediately.
Right.
We were they call me 5-6 months later, or they recommend me someone else, but we never end up working together.
Right. Well, speaking of networking, how is networking, how did that kind of sustain your business or help it, or, kind of was it like you already had some stuff going on, or like once you really started networking, because we kind of started around the same time, like that for me was huge. Like how was it for you in your business?
So for me, it has been great, awesome.
Yeah.
Like I never understand the power of networking, man. Like to be honest, like I honestly saw like, and there has to be a lot of cultural thing too, because you know, when we learn, like, you know, when we come to this country, like, you know, obviously like I wasn't born here.
Right.
You know, when we come to this country, we come with the dream of doing something better, get a better life, work hard, you know.
Right.
That's it. Work as hard as you can, save as much as you can, and, you know, invest is like safely, you know.
Right.
And all that stuff. That's why we come for a better life in our families, in our countries, for our families in our countries. So we come with that thought. So like whenever we see a networking, we're like, oh, what a waste of time. Like, you know, I'm gonna go there for like 2 hours and just to talk.
I could be working.
I can be working, right?
Yeah.
But then, you know, when you start adapting to your environment, and that's why I recommend to a lot of business owners that might not been to a network before or something like that, is not a waste of time. It's not.
Yeah.
Networking is not a waste of time. Like waste of time. I'm sorry. It's actually doing a different and planting the seed.
Yeah.
Getting your name out there in a different way. You know?
And making friendships. Because, you know, I had Tiffany Ball on a couple episodes ago. And, you know, she was like, people do business with people they like. Exactly. How are they going to like you if you don't, you know, actually spend time with them?
And after the pandemic, Mike, I feel like there has been a huge, you know, on business owners, a caution of investing just to invest.
Yeah.
Because I feel like after the pandemic, people just want to work with people that they know and people that they trust.
Right.
And people that they see every day, or they know that they did somebody for somebody, right?
Right.
And not just because, oh, I'm just gonna go hire this random company and that's it.
Right.
You know? So I mean, like, networking is that connection, you know? Like, again, you make friendships. You might not work with them immediately.
Right.
You know?
Or at all, but they might tell somebody else, you know?
Somebody else. Yeah. Or like, I mean, we have done projects together.
Yeah.
You know? We might be on the same industries and everything, but you always need somebody that collaborates with you in the same industry. So again, it's never when we understand that we're so easy to say that phrase every day, like, oh my God, collaboration before competition, right?
Yeah.
You see, like, you know, you hear all these guys that or people that say it all the time. Oh yeah, like, we're not here to compete. We're here to collaborate. But then when they see the client going with the other company, like, you know, they get beef, right? They get mad.
Yeah.
And it's, again, like, until we understand the meaning of what that is, you know, like, we like that really is gonna change the kind of the mentality in our business.
Right.
Because again, like, yeah, like, we have to understand that the client is gonna, if that client is yours, you're going to do the most that you can. You're going to put your offers out there. You're going to do the best to work with that client. Right. If that client decides to go with somebody else, it wasn't meant to be your client.
Right.
You know, that's it. You know, like, again, you know, I always connect everything to God, but God is going to bring the right people at the right moment.
Right.
That's it.
You know, I think part of business is just getting used to rejection. You know, celebrating the wins and getting used to rejection. Like, how many proposals have you done that you never heard anything back from? Like,
exactly.
Like when you're saying talking to younger kids, like, that's going to happen.
It's going to
happen. And it's going to happen your entire career. So just get used to it and be thankful for the ones that you get, you know, and keep working hard to get more. But you're never going to close 100% of the people you have unless you only have one. Like, your grandma wants to pay you to do something, exactly. You know, like, and nobody else does. You know, so, like, what other local you're in the Chamber of Commerce now?
So currently, I was, but I'm not anymore.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, you know, I'm just, like, I decided to kind of reorganize my business on like, what areas do I want to move on. As of right now, no. But like, you know, maybe towards the future again. Yeah. But not right now.
What other networking things do you do?
So I definitely, you know, like I went through a lot of networkings, and I always, that's another thing. Like, you have to look for a networking that really add to your business.
Yeah.
and not really consume your energy and consume your time. That you feel like is honestly like quoted a waste of time.
Right.
That is actually an investing time.
Yeah.
You know, so I definitely like, you know, one of the things that I recommend and one of the networks that I visited lately is definitely Grow Networking.
Yep.
That Tiffany Ball is the leader. Definitely 1 million cups.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I like about Grow Networking is that, like, you know, they have these panels, and yeah, they have different activities, but they have this Grow event, which is like they have different panels and they have different stuff that add to your business. So like they have, I was telling Tiffany Ball that it adds to the, like, you know, the human side of your business. You know,
Right.
so like they actually speak from their experience and not like a PowerPoint or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you get the panel that actually talks like, hey, I struggle with this. I you know, I didn't see myself doing this or
Right.
whatever. The human side of business. And again, like, you know, those advices helps you grow
Right.
with that panel, and you can ask them questions that are related to your business. So that communication, and of course, like their networking and everything. And I love their follow-up process.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
You know, like that's super cool. And I know like she's gonna invest on video production. She's gonna, like, you know, they're gonna do something when it comes to video. So like definitely that's gonna add something different, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to that part of 1 million cups, I love it because you can do a presentation
Right.
without probably investing. A lot of people is like, oh yeah, you gotta pay this, or you gotta be a member for like a year for you to actually, you know, present and everything. No, here is not like you put your name on the list, you present, but the presentation is not about sell pitch. It's actually
Right.
about presenting a problem that you have.
Yeah.
And you hear other advices and everything. And I thought that was super cool because
Did it help you?
it has helped me.
Yeah,
It
okay.
has helped me to. I presented once,
Yeah.
and all their advices. I until this day I still have that list, and I'm doing the checklist.
Yeah.
Okay, I already did this. I already did that.
Yeah.
But again, like even if you go and see other businesses, you're like, oh man, I actually been struggling with the same thing. So again, you take
Yeah.
note of the advice that the other person give
Right.
another business, but you're absorbing information, so that helps your business grow. So those are networkings that honestly, like, you know, bring something to the table for you as a business.
Yeah.
And not just like, okay, like, yeah, you're there, connect with whoever you want, and that's it. You know, no, it's not about that. Sometimes a lot of people think more about quantity and not quality.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
So I like, as a business, like at least myself, or when I take JJ Productions, it's like I want to go somewhere that actually gives like benefits me as a business. It helps me grow as a business.
Right.
Even, you know, knowledge.
Yeah.
Or and resources. Not just like bringing a client to me, is resources,
Right.
Knowledge, and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
That's
where
great. So where do you kind of see the next few years going in terms of growth?
I mean, you know, right now we have a lot of projects, you know, definitely, like, you know, we're thinking to grow. I always think of growing locally,
Yeah.
because I've been here for so long, but definitely, you know, like DC, like all the DMB.
Okay.
Definitely, we're always gonna do projects like weddings and all the stuff, but I don't promote myself as a wedding videographer or
Right.
a wedding like, you know, production company.
So people find you as from referrals from other weddings?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they do find out for referrals mostly, like when it comes to weddings.
Yeah.
I put content about weddings every now and then, but again, like my thing is about working with corporates, like
Yeah.
corporation businesses. So again, like, you know, we're hoping to grow, like at least, you know, like a couple more clients this year. Definitely, we're looking to do that. The team has been growing too.
Okay. Nice.
So like definitely shout out to the team.
Yeah. So do you have other videographers? Do you have editors or a little bit of everything?
Yes.
Okay.
So like something that people need to know is like JJ Production is not John Jimenez. You know, JJ Productions is my wife Diana, my sister-in-law Kayla. You know, it's a family-owned business.
Yeah.
You know, that's the heart of it. But then, you know, we have our editor, our star editor. She's her name is Rebecca. So like, you know, like obviously like there's circumstances that the workload. So like, you know, we take turns, we do whatever it is. But yeah, we do have an editor and
some like people you outsource to help with the...
Yeah. So like outsourcing videographers and photographers. But that's the thing. I'm never going to have a list of 50 that I can choose from.
Yeah.
I'm always going to go with the same team.
Yeah.
Always. That's just, I've been working with my photographer, Melissa, and my other photographer, John Leia. I can name it to you because I mean, shout out to them. Like, you know, Melissa, John Leia. I have my other photographer and videographer, Jose, you know. So, and I have people that I work with at least 1 or 2 times. And like the one that believed in me when I first started in so many ways. His name is Jason. He's another amazing photographer. So again, like, yes, like, you know, I outsource, and that's why I'm telling you about connections, man.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Exactly.
So like for example, if I needed an extra videographer, I know I can be like, hey, Mike, you know, can you do this type of work? Oh yeah, man, like I'm down there. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like you, for example, when we had that project together, you were like, hey, John, like I really need help with photography. Can you come through and help me out? Yeah, man, like let's do it.
Yeah, and it turned out great.
It turned out great, right? So again, that's the point. Like the point is that that's really working towards collaboration.
Actual collaboration, not just saying it and
I had some clients, I mean, you know this, like whenever a client asks on Facebook, hey, we need a website or anything. I used to do websites.
Yeah.
Like we used to do websites and offer that. But I told you this, like, that's another. It's
a whole different business.
A whole different business.
Yeah.
You know, like I learned that making a lot of mistakes, and I learned that because it takes a lot of times, a lot of different strategy and everything. So I'm just like, yeah, really not promoting that anymore. So that's why I mention you whenever they ask about website. Yeah.
And same with you for production stuff. I mean, like, can I do it? Yeah, and I do have fun doing it, but, you know, I have to focus on, like, the main bulk of my business, you know, like, so we put stuff together for the Meredith house, and, I didn't plan on doing a video. My wife was just doing photos, but I was there with her, you know, so I was like, I'm just going to throw something together, you know.
I have a lot of friends that are videographers or people that are photographers and everything, and they even send me a message, hey, John, how can I do this? Like, what type of camera do you use, or what type of, microphones or everything, like,
it's fun to talk shop.
Yeah.
You know?
That's collaboration, man. Like until we stop thinking competition, we're actually gonna see our business grow. Because we know that client that went with the other company, it was gonna be blessing. The other person has family, the other person has,
so why are we looking at it that way?
You see?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like when we start seeing like, okay, hey, that person is being blessed. That's it.
Right.
I mean, more is for me to come. And that's another principle about JJ production and just my life in general. And that's what I always tell people. And I think when I ever talk about, like, you know, in presentations and everything, is like giving is how you received. And we got to remember that when Jesus was here, he was serving. He used to serve before being served. He was with the worst of the worst, man. Like he was, you know, and people judged him, and that's why he was crucified at the end,
right?
You know, because he was different, because he was hanging out with the people, he was healing when he wasn't supposed to, he was in the places that he wasn't supposed to, because that's how he was a people person.
Well, he was with the people that needed it.
That's what I'm saying.
And not in a church on a hill somewhere where no one's good enough to come in, like, you know, like he would be with the broken.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So, yeah, I mean, I think that's great. So, you know, how can people find out about you guys? You know, where they find you? What's the best way to get in touch?
I mean, like, you know, the best way to get in touch is my phone, 571-298-7658. That's how I am.
Okay.
You know, like personal phone, like shoot me a text. The other platform that we have is the email, you know.
Yeah. That's all on your Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, that's all on my Instagram and Facebook. You know, we answer through Instagram, we answer through Facebook. You know, if they want to check out our website, they can go to our website and they can shoot us an email. You know, I find, like, you know, I always try to answer the fastest that I can, and they always gonna receive a message from me as the owner.
That's great. So one last question I forgot to ask you: why did you choose Sony over Canon and Nikon?
Oh man, let's not start a fight right here. You know, if you're gonna put this,
I chose Sony too. So
please cover my face before. Nah, I'm just kidding. Like, no, man. Like, to be honest, I started Canon.
Okay.
Canon. My first camera was a
So
Rebel.
betrayal.
Yeah.
No, I started with a Canon too.
Be careful, Canon. Don't shut this channel. But like, no, I mean, I started with a Rebel 60i. Rebel 60i. That was my first camera. The reason why I switched was because I feel like Sony has more experience in mirrorless cameras.
Oh yeah.
So I know Canon, and like after that I actually got like this was my timeline, 60i Canon, I'm sorry, yeah, 60i, and then I got a Canon 5D Mark IV. That thing was a brick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like having the stabilizer.
Oh yeah.
The first running that
Your
came out,
shoulders are all hurting.
I
Yeah.
make a good back after that. So, and then after that, like, after that I changed. So what I changed that because I started working with a lot of people that are Sonys, and I
Yeah.
saw the production and started watching a lot of tutorials. A lot of my favorite videographers have Sonys.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
just like, wow, I
my
love the
reason too.
quality. I love how clean it is. I love how crisp. Like, the flexibility.
Lighter.
Yeah, and the power that it has under like low light situations.
Yeah.
Especially like the one that I own is a A7S3.
Yeah.
I love the S line because it's in low light situations is amazing. So that's why, like, I felt like it has what makes me switch. It was actually an accident because I borrowed I remember I had this lens. I had the 24-70. I think it was a 2.8 lens.
I have the same one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so it was for Canon.
Yeah.
So it was a Canon glass.
Okay.
So like one of my friends, he went to a shoot and he told me, bro, can you let me borrow your lens? And I was like, yeah, man, you go ahead. That's not a problem. So I knew a guy. He's a professional photographer, and I trust him. Until this day, if he does it again, I will do it again. I don't care.
Yeah.
So like, he happened that it was an accident. Actually, like kids were running around where he was, and they dropped the tripod. He dropped the lens, and he broke the frame of the lens.
Ooh.
So like, at the end, everything ended up being well.
Right.
Like
so you're like, oh, well, I might as well change the camera body now at this point.
They gave me two choices. They gave me like, do you want us to order the lens, or do you want the check? And I was like, well, the check,
Yeah.
So like that gave me the opportunity to start changing everything again. So yeah, I mean, definitely like, Sony, I know Canon has taken out a lot of great mirrorless bodies and everything like that. But I feel like color wise, I love Canon colors,
Okay.
like I can give them credit for that, especially in the pictures. But when people come up to me, I always tell them, if you're gonna take photos, yeah, if you wanna go with Canon, that's fine. Like I think Canon is great on photography. But when it comes to videography,
Yeah.
the body stabilization,
Yeah.
the lens stabilization,
The autofocus.
the autofocus.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can name so many things when it comes to Sony, but because Sony has focused themselves on, like, on that, on making better video. So that's why I was like, okay, it's time to switch to Sony.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great decision. Mine was because I think I had a Nikon D70. So what was it, Nikon that makes the Ds? I don't know. It's been like 5 years.
Nikon
Now.
D70,
5
yeah.
years. Yeah. So
Well, I think it was I think Canon has a D80 and D7.
one of those. I don't care about them anymore. But the autofocus didn't work for video. So that's the reason I had purchased it. And then once I, did more research, and so I just ended up like getting rid of. We had it for, I don't know, 6 months. So I just sold it and bought the Sony. And I've just the S3. So it's the best you can get right now.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I always gonna say, just use whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because a lot of videographers that do amazing things, like do amazing videos, they use Canon and they do amazing things. Like I've done people doing iPhone videos, and they're like, wow, man, like it's crazy. Like you really did that. Now the new Osmo. Have you seen it? Like the Osmo, the little camera.
Oh, the little one that like spins around and stuff. Yeah.
Like the new one is crazy on low light situation.
Really?
People are making professional videos with those things.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have a, like, like this summarize everything. It's not the tool. It's whoever is behind the tool.
And like having the vision of how to use that tool, of what it's going to become.
Exactly.
So I don't know what kind of movies you like, but they shot Presence. It's like sort of a scary thriller movie. They shot it with an A9, which is like $5,000 camera.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that the lens is probably, twice that much, but still it's like very impressive, the stuff they did. Like
the A9 is crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, like, it's always, and there is some people that shoot like just a social media content with a red camera, with a red Raptor. Or
Yeah.
something like that. Like, and it looks horrible sometimes,
Right.
Because sometimes, like, again, it's not the tool himself. It's how you, like,
knowing how to use it.
Producer, the people behind the camera, that has the vision, has the, that the artistic, the creative side.
Right.
So if, like, if people watch this and they're trying to do content and everything like that, the best advice is, like, doesn't matter the tool or how you start with. It can be your iPhone, and I feel like, that's how I started. I started with my iPhone 5.
Yeah.
And just like that, I always say the best way to have a good video is make sure you buy a tiny microphone from Amazon that costs now like they have these social media wireless mics.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy that they're like,
they're on TikTok
like
shop for like $30 or something.
So like, just buy a mic like that. Make sure you have a good light that lights on.
Right.
Like the ring lights are like super cheap now.
Right. That's enough to get started.
That's it.
Yeah. That's enough. Yeah.
And I mean, like, later on you can implement things, but that's how you start. I mean, like, you can start basic.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and, being vulnerable about your situation. And I wish you and your business the best of luck. So thanks again, brother.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.